This is episode 3 of Bond. And just to recap episode 1 and episode 2, if you didn't see that, in the first episode, we kind of explored like who you are. Who are you? So you want to go and you want to do that discovery work and find out who is it that you truly are. What's your personality type? What's your love language? What is your horoscope? Whatever it is that your personality type, like just anything that you can explore that tells you like who you are at the core of you, because we don't want to change that, but you want to leverage it. And then you can't leverage tools you don't know that you have. Again, I don't think I'm going to be able to stay on long if my throat starts to go out. It's been going in and out all day today. So it's allergies. So in episode 2, we talked about the I am. So your intentions, your action, and your manifestation. And so in the first episode, the work was, do you trust yourself? Do you trust others? And do others trust you? And just kind of get a leverage on where you're at as far as trust goes in your relationships. Then with the intention, action, and manifestation, then you want to look at your messes. You want to look at the relationships that didn't work out. And we don't want to dwell here. We don't want to do the woulda, coulda, shouldas. We want to look at it and see what was our role in those relationships and what was the lesson. Because when you can find the lesson, you won't repeat the pattern. When you find the lesson, you can recognize it right away in someone, and you don't waste a year, 3 years, 8 years, 20 years on the wrong relationship for you. So it's important to get to those things. Well, episode 3. So now that we've gotten to like with the law of attraction and everything else, and A Course in Miracles, now we've gotten to the point of we're understanding that our thoughts become things. What we focus on is what grows. So if you're focused on, making a lot of money, but you're putting more energy towards what if it fails than you are towards what it will be like, or what you're going to do with that, or how you're going to leverage that. It becomes like this mix up in the cosmos, because it's trying to deliver you what you want, and what you're focusing on is what gets the attention. So if you're focusing on it not working out, lack, you're going to manifest that. So this brings us to, with episode 3, is your self-talk patterns. So, and there's several. So with self-talk, you have shame. So with shame is, oh, I'm a loser, I'm a failure, blah, 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 blah. With blame, it's I failed because they failed me. They did this to me. This was not my fault. This was everybody else's fault. Guilt, and we all go through all of these at some stage in our life, or some relationships you may be in a deep shame, where in another relationship you're not in shame at all. In another relationship you might be doing the blame game because that was your childhood role in your childhood. So you have a tendency to blame people, when it comes to your family, but your friends you get along fine with. There's no problem, so it just depends on what your role is in the dynamic of the relationships. So then you have shame, you have blame, and then you have guilt. And guilt is, I wasn't enough. I didn't try hard enough. I should have done this. I could have done that. That's the guilt. Regret self-talk is more of, again, the woulda, shoulda, coulda's. I wish I would have done this. I wish I could have done that. I wish if I could go back, I would change this. I would do that. And that's a regret mindset. And then enlightened mindset is, I failed at this because I made these choices and I learned from making those choices. That's enlightenment. So you want to move through, and a lot of times we start in shame. We start in shame and we move into blame, and then we move into guilt, and then we move into regret. Well, at least with regrets. All right, so those of you who do my groups and like see me in person, like it's kind of a joke, like, because I do these like stick people. So, all right, so I did a little board for you guys, right? So here's my board. It's what we got. So I don't know if you can get that on there. Maybe you could screenshot it. I don't know. To move the comments and you can screenshot it that way. But what you can see here is you got shame, blame, and guilt. So I can't read it backwards. So I have to look at it this way. But so with shame, it is, I'm a failure. This is just the way life is. It's never going to change for me. I'm broken. I'm too broken to be fixed. That's like that poverty mindset, victim mentality that keeps you in a low vibration. Like I'm too messed up. I'm never going to change. This is who I am. And I've just come to accept that I'm a broken human being. I'm never going to move on. Like that's the shame-based mindset. And it just keeps you stuck and trapped in this cycle. Like it's hopeless. It's just absolutely hopeless because how can you ever get out of that if you're so committed to, this is who I am. I'm just a broken human being and I can never be in a relationship because I'm so flawed. If that's what you want to tell yourself. Okay, then blame, that's that projecting onto others and which blame is a lot of times an enlightened person who says, I failed because I made these choices and I learned from making those bad choices. So I know I'm not going to make those choices in the future because I learned my lesson from that. When an enlightened person tries to explain that to somebody who has a blaming mindset, they right away will accuse you of not taking responsibility for yourself and you're blaming. And it's like they'll project onto you that you're the blamer. But if you're the kind of person that, you can see where you made your mistakes. You see the lessons that you learn from those mistakes, and you are trying to offer that to others. Sometimes they don't want to hear it, and then just move on. That used to be me. Yeah, all of these used to be all of us, and some people are still stuck there, and some people, and there's not a time. There's not. I'm 50 years old. At this point, I have done all of these at some point in my life. Like when you're going through trauma, when you're going through a certain experience, you do go into a shame, you do go into a blame, you do go into a guilt because you're traumatized. So you're trying to make sense of it. So you go from the shame into the blame, then to the guilt. So at least guilt, you're moving. So we're moving forward. We're moving towards an enlightened mindset. So you go from the shame to the blame to the guilt. And the guilt was, I wasn't good enough. This is the I'm sorry person. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I did it. My fault. I'm sorry. That person is in that guilt. Well, they're kind of like right in the middle of going into a unhealthy thought pattern that keeps you stuck and going into an enlightened thought pattern that brings you to enlightenment. So from guilt goes regret. And you would think, well, regret's so negative. At least regret is starting to take accountability. Guilt and blame isn't taking accountability. Regret is saying, I could have made a different choice. I had the opportunity and I chose to do this with that opportunity and I regret that. So regret is at least moving towards enlightenment because at least it's looking at the self and own behaviors. So it's starting to learn the process. So regret can be good, but we don't want to stay in regret because we want to move into enlightenment where, you know, this is where you want to look at where did I make choices that harmed myself? Because a lot of times what we do is we're making choices on an unconscious level. So if on an unconscious level you're seeking acceptance and the people around you, the way to fit in with them and be accepted by them is to damage yourself, you're going to self-sabotage to gain their acceptance. And you're constantly self-sabotaging to gain their acceptance because that's the role that you're playing. So in these in these 3 sessions, you want to look at who are you being in each of these roles? Who are you choosing to show up and be as? And like I said, in one relation, at work, you could be one person. At home, you could be another. And with your friends, You could be doing another, like just depending on who you're in the company with may determine how you are interacting with others, because you're trying to adapt to your tribe, you're trying to adapt to your culture, you're trying to adapt to be accepted. But when you are firm in who you are, you're the same in all of those arenas. And there are going to be people that you just don't jive with. Well, then you just don't jive with them. There's something there. There's something there for you to heal. I know there's a handful of people that I can't even have a conversation with them. I can't even have a conversation with them. And it's not that they're bad people. It's not that they're bad people. So I'm not saying that like they're on this and they're that. No, but they are in such a deep level of shame and blame that me talking to them is like a whole different conversation. Like we are talking two totally different conversations. Because when you're talking to someone like that, okay, so when you're enlightened, you say, okay, I see where my choices and my behaviors have created this outcome. Now, there's other factors. Other people played roles. Other people, somebody may have lied to you and you're making choices based on their lie. Well, if you had the truth, you would have made different choices. So you're still learning and reflecting on yourself and how you allowed someone to alter your universe with lies. But that person, that you were living in a delusional world based on someone lying to you. So if someone is, that was me, but I broke out of it. Can't play the victim, gotta be, yes, yes, be an overcomer. That's right. And so you can't be a victim and be enlightened at the same time. You can't be the victim, the martyr, and the hero. It doesn't work like that. You got to pick a role. And you have to decide how are you going to move throughout your relationships. So for this week, and I'm not going to stay on here too long, I'm trying to keep these under 20 minutes, which for me is not easy, which is probably why God gave me a sinus infection, so I'll shut up faster. But you're talking two separate ends of the spectrum when people are in those different mindsets and you're having two totally different conversations. Like you just can't even connect. Like you're talking about one thing and they're on to some fixation of something that like we're past that. We're now talking about this, and they're back to like fixating on this one thing that was said that has really no relevance to the content of the conversation. So for me, I get like really impatient with that and I just can't tolerate it and I just blow my stack. Like I'm still a work in progress. I'm not, just because I teach it doesn't mean I don't fail sometimes or get flawed sometimes. I mean, we're human beings. So what this is doing is like, same as the Course in Miracles, is what is it's doing is trying to train your brain to live in a place of hope, love, joy, and accountability, as opposed to doubt, fear, regret, and blame. Okay. So even though regret is closer to enlightenment, because at least you're taking accountability for stuff, it is still a very low vibrational energy. And shame is a very low vibrational energy. Shame is a victim mindset. You're committed to being a victim. So you can't move out of being a victim. You can't free yourself from being a victim if because there's some kind of payoff. There's somehow, some way you're a victim. So it gets maddening because it's like these, typically when people are playing the victim role, like they victimized you. They victimized you and somehow they're carrying this victim role thing and it's twisted into somehow they're the ones that have been, so, but that's just being committed to being their ego, being a victim. Sorry, there's somebody upstairs. So pay attention to how you're talking to yourself. Pay attention to what you're saying to yourself. Are you using shame in your self-talk? Are you using blame in your self-talk? Are you using guilt, regret? Or are you choosing to be enlightened? And by doing that, you're just paying attention. So like last week, I think it was more of like, take a look at your messes and see if you can find the key to your miracles. Because when you look through the mess, you'll find the pattern, you'll find the key to manifesting what it is that you really truly want. And then once you understand how that works, then you really have to focus on your self-talk. Because if your thoughts can manifest what you want and your self-talk is doubting what you want, you're counteracting and you're actually negating the miracle you're trying to create, right? So in order for you to have the things and do the things that you want, you truly have to believe that it's possible, and you have to speak highly into it, and you have to give love to it. So by giving it love and nurturing it with the seeds of joy and happiness and excitement, you raise the vibration that brings that to you faster. And it's very funny because like if you start to manifest, I actually was like manifesting cups of coffee. All right, here we go. Cups of coffee. And on my way to work, it was funny because every time I would, get it. Oh, sorry, the video just went out. So I was live on Facebook. So sorry. But anyways, I would manifest cups of coffee. I would just go through the drive-through and the car in front of me would buy me a cup of coffee, or the gas station attendant would be like, don't worry about it, I got it. And it was just crazy because I kept manifesting free coffee to the point where it was like, I'm wide awake, I can't sleep anymore because I'm constantly drinking coffee. So these things, when it starts to happen, it kind of gets a little scary. You want to take a step back. Really, that's all I had to say for today. So for episode 3, I wanted to check my notes because I know I had something for you for week 4. For episode 4. Oh yeah, actually I do. I don't want to share that just yet. So for episode 4, we'll talk a little bit more. But right now, so focus on your self-talk. How are you talking to yourself? Is it shame, blame, guilt, regret, enlightenment? What arenas are you enlightened in, and what relationships is your self-talk more of on a negative vibration? Because maybe, it's like you're one way everywhere else, but at work you're just so low vibe. Well, that just tells you you're in the wrong place. You're working in the wrong place. You should probably consider looking for new work or a new job or a new career. Maybe it's not just the job. Maybe it's not the place. Maybe it's a great place to work. It's just not aligned with who you are and what you're supposed to be doing with your life. So with that being said, I will be back next week for episode 4. And if you've missed 1 and 2, go back and watch. And you can put all 3 of these together. But the work is whatever you put into it. So if you do the work, you'll get the outcomes. All right, guys, break out, not down. Bye.